Shavua Tov b'Shem Hashem Naaseh v'Natzliach. Be'ezrat Hashem b'Leneder, we would like to make the shiur in memory of Le'ilu Nishmat Daniel Bat Yaffa HaCohen. It's a year now that he has not been with us. A husband, Rabotai, to one woman, a father to many children, a grandfather to even many more grandchildren. A very great guy. He left us suddenly, very fast, left behind good kids and a widow. A lot can be said about him, but those that knew Mr. Daniel Yusupov, he was a family friend, but with him he was more like family and not just a friend. The smile that he always had, the positivity that he always had, the encouragement that he always gave to other people was unbelievable, even though he himself was going through a lot. Just want to tell you a small story about him, Rabotai, lo aleinu v'lo alechem on anyone. I remember being a very young boy, and maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, my father runs into the room, says we have to go to that Dojik's house. That's how we used to call him. I said, what happened? He said his older son got into a car accident. So we thought maybe it's just a car accident. But little did we know, Rabotai, he lost his life. Mr. Daniel Yusupov lost a child, I believe at the age of 21. His son was maybe 21 years old at the time. And he was always living with that pain that he lost his older son, which was literally his right-hand man. He has other boys also, B'lei very good children, also grew up B'lei Baruch Hashem. But the oldest son, Rabotai, as every father knows, is the oldest son. Your first child, your firstborn, your first everything. And it was taken away from him. And no matter how, no matter where, no matter when, whenever you would deal with this person, he never let you know that he was going through this pain. If somebody would come to him and would say they're having a bad business day, or this is not working out well, or this happened, or this is, complaining about the petty stuff of life, he would remind them that they're still alive, that they still have things to improve on, that this is nothing, all this can pass. So this was a man, Rabotai, that always had a smile on his face, always tried to encourage other people, and especially he invested a lot in his own children. Honestly, it's very touching for me to be able to remember him. How they say, good people, you never forget. I would like to make this lecture on his behalf, Bezrat Hashem. May his neshama only have an aliyah higher and higher and higher. May the kids become more shomrei Torah, shomrei mitzvot, help more, because this is what's going to make the father happy. We have an obligation to honor our parents. The real kibud avim comes, Rabotai, after the parents leave the world. Why? Because now they're not alive. How much are you going to go out of your way to do for them? To learn more Torah, to daven better, to give more tzedakah, to improve yourself. Because every mitzvah that we do over here is able to help him up there. Rabotai, today I want to speak about a very important topic, which I would like to call it being aware of Hashem. A lot of us tend to somehow, which is fine, Rabotai, is just, we're not perfect, we're not angels, but a lot of us tend to sometimes deviate to left or right, and we could never go that straight path. Because our eyes are never really on the goal, because we get sidetracked by all the outside, by all the materialism and everything. Now again, Rabotai, when I say this, people think, well, should they live in caves not to live? No, Rabotai, I'm not saying that. Every single Jew, Rabotai, has to be appropriate, he has to look presentable. You're the child of Hashem. Being a child of Hashem, on the contrary, you have to do everything in your power, so when people look at you, they say, wow, that's a Jew. Now when people look at you, they say, that's a Jew. So Rabotai, it's not how we have the misconception. When we think about B'nai Torah, we think about like a low-class people. Chas v'shalom, Rabotai. The Chazal tell us, the Torah tells us, Rabotai, B'nai Malachim hem. The Talmidei Chacham, they're the children of kings. You ever see a child of a king dressed inappropriate? No. So too does Rabotai. We have to be able to present the Kadosh Baruch Hu the best possible way in our own ways, what we're able to do with our wherewithal, to be able to show the world what does it mean to sanctify Hashem's name. Now, what the class I would like to make it, and what I would like to actually call it, and how it's going to be able to help each and every one of us, is being aware. We need to have this concept of being aware that HaKadosh Baruch Hu exists. That Hashem is here, He's watching us, He's rewarding us, and Chas v'shalom, if we don't do the right thing, it can be the opposite. Rabotai, I listened to a lecture, I forgot the rabbi's name, I took a few points from him. It's not all my points over here, but also I would like to add, compare and contrast with other things, to try to make the shur a little bit more than it is. What emunah is in the mind, tefillah is in practice. When this rabbi said this word, it was such a powerful thing, because when you think about it, what emunah is in the mind, tefillah is in practice. Rabotai, if we pay close attention when it comes to davening, our davening is very fast. Again, Rabotai, I'm not judging, I'm just trying to just generalize from what I see, like, not because everybody's improvement, there's always improvement. I just want to just try to bring out a point. Whenever we're davening, why is it that when we're saying Baruch, we don't feel that we're really speaking to Hashem? Or when you're saying a blessing, why does it have to be specific Shem Hashem? But over here you speak about tefillah. But why is it when we're blessing HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we don't really feel that we are actually blessing Hashem? So the answer to that is, Rabotai, because we're lacking in awareness. Excuse me. We're lacking in that awareness, knowing, or to know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching us. Sometimes He slips out of our mind. We can't constantly be thinking of Him, but there is a way, Rabotai. You know, if you ever went through a hard time in your life, like you had nowhere where to turn your back, like who to turn to, and your back was against the wall, you could only turn to Hashem. That's how you're always supposed to be thinking, that Hashem is always watching you. But it doesn't have to be when things are going bad. Even when things are going good, you wake up in the morning, early in the morning, you think of Hashem. You're learning, you think of Hashem. Just to have an idea, the concept that Hashem is here and He's watching me. Like the Ramah said, brings down in Halacha Aleph, in Shulchan Aruch Aleph, in Halacha Aleph. So Rabotai, we want to see today, B'ezrat Hashem, how do we bring this awareness out? So, one more time, what emunah is in the mind, tefillah is in practice. A person can believe over here, but with his actions, is he really living it? Maybe not. So that's what emunah is in the mind. Whatever you believe over here, tefillah is you're actually practicing it with prayer. Do you really believe when you say Baruch Atah Hashem Rofeh Chol Basar Rofeh Lasot? Do you believe that Hashem is the healer of all flesh? Do you believe that Baruch Atah Hashem Mivarech Hashanim? That Hashem is the one that blesses the years? That He's the one that gives us Parnasa? Do we really believe Michayeh HaMeitim? Do we really believe Magen Avraham? A person has to make it a reality. It's not a reality by us. It's more like just trying to put in the check and come out of the davening. That's why it's very, very important that at least to start somewhere is to take at least one bracha in the Shemon Esrei. It should be the first bracha, and try to at least in Shemon Esrei just try to give some time to that. Whatever it is, to be a second extra, 5 seconds extra, doesn't matter. But try to have kavanah at least in one bracha for the first month of the trial of trying to come close to Hashem. Then the next bracha, and then the next bracha, until you are able to strengthen your concentration, to strengthen your mind in being able to daven. Because Rabotai, if we really have emunah that Hashem, you do every little thing in the world that happens, it's Hashem. So why our davening does not correspond to the way we are actually believing in Hashem? So Rabotai, he continues over here and he brings down, the Rabbi brought down this in 7th Hillim Perik Kuftet Zayin and Pasuk Yud. Now, how does one bring this awareness to him? And here we go, Rabotai. Why is it so important to be able to pray with kavanah, to try to make it the most you can? That's what you should try to do. Because the Pasuk in Tehillim says, He'emanti ki adaber. I will believe because I speak. One more time, Rabotai. He'emanti. I believed ki adaber when I spoke. When does a person come to start believing? Or better yet, Rabotai, when does a person have awareness of Hashem? Is when he starts speaking about Hashem. And that's what tefillah is all about. Do you actually think Hashem needs our tefillah, Rabotai? Yes, we instituted, but the tefillot are for us to come close to Him. That is the one way to be able to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, besides learning Torah and doing mitzvot. That's what it says. Emanti ki edaber. I believed because I spoke. When a person says to Hashem, the recognition that it's all Hashem, every time you say those words, you have the recognition that it's all Hashem, that everything that comes, just saying it alone, that it's Hashem, it goes deeper and deeper and deeper inside of you. It's like one rabbi said, Rabbi Wolbe, he said, what's the difference between planting and building? You know, today you have parents, they try to change their children overnight or over a year, whatever it might be. Rabotai, there's a difference between planting and building. He said, what's the difference? Planting, you take a seed, you put it inside, you forget about it. I mean, you have to water it, of course, etc. The sun has to shine, of course. But you no longer focus on that seed per se. It has to do what it has to do inside the ground. 30, 40 years from now, you look back, you see it sprouted into a very big tree, a fruitful tree, whatever tree you planted it into be. Building happens in a year. You can build a house in a year, you can build a building in 2 years, depending on the manpower you have. So Rabbi Wolbe explained that when it comes to children, Rabotai, it's planting seeds. Today you say one thing, tomorrow you say another thing, and it goes into their mind subconsciously, goes little by little. 40 years from now, they will start remembering what Abba and Ima said, and they're always going to go right and right. I mean, they're always going to go in the proper derech. But if you want to try to build your child, you'll only break your child. You have to plant seeds into your child, and you have to water them very carefully. You can't spill a bucket of water on them. Little by little, Rabotai. With our children, it's all about planting. Why am I saying this? Because with us also is the same thing. We can't change overnight. It's all about planting. We plant, we start planting into our minds. Hashem, you are the cause of everything. Hashem, you are the cause of everything. We recognize that Hashem, that it's you. You speak about it from time to time, it becomes a reality. And that's what Rabotai brings down over here. He says, Rabbi Victor Miller Zatzal, he went to a Musar shtibel, and it was a Hasidic synagogue. For 1 hour straight, Rabbi Victor Miller would scream out, and he would say these words, Hashem is looking at you. That's all he was saying. Hashem is looking at you. Hashem is looking at you. Hashem. 1 hour straight he was saying Hashem was looking at him. Rabotai, when he came out of the shul, he was a completely different person. Why, Rabotai? Because the words that we speak become a reality. That's what the Gemara says, Rabotai, Al tiftach pe besatan. Do not open the Satan's, the Yetzer Hara's mouth. Don't say negative things. You ever have your child riding a bicycle or running, and you say, don't fall. The fact that you said, don't fall, you should know that's what's going to happen. Because, Rabotai, we just caused that reality to happen. Up to now, the child was fine. But when you open your mouth, you make the words into reality. That's why a person has to be very careful not to speak negative, but more importantly, not to have negative people that speak negative words towards them. That's what Rabotai, it says, Da lifnei mi ata omed. That's what if you ever walk into any shul, one of the verses they has of them on the platforms, on the ark, is Da lifnei mi ata omed. You should know before whom you're standing. It doesn't say you should believe, Rabotai, because believing is in the mind. It's not enough to believe over here. You also have to know. But Rabotai, how does one come to knowing? And that's always and only through expressing, through speaking about it. Hashem did this for me, Hashem did this for me. Hashem took care of me, Hashem, Hashem, Hashem. The more you speak about something, the more it becomes a reality. I want to show you over here in the Biur Halacha, in Siman Aleph, in Dibra Matchil Hu Klal Gadol B'Torah, one of the 6 constant mitzvot is Lahamin Sheyesh Eloha Echad Be'olam Shimtzi Kol HaNimtzoot. It's to believe that there's one God in the world that founded everything. Umechevtzo Rutzno Hu Kol Ma Shehu Achshav V'Shehaya V'Sheh La'adei Ad. Everything, Rabotai, everything's willed, desired from Him. What's going on now for eternity? And He took us out of Egypt and He gave us the Torah. Rabotai, I want to read for you over here something. He said like this. V'zehu mitzvat aseh, this is a positive commandment. Dichtiv, like the pasuk says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hotzitecha me'eretz Mitzrayim. I am Hashem your God that took you out of the land of Egypt. So now He's telling us over here, you have to believe that there's one Hashem, and He brings the verse. But Rabotai, listen how He wants to translate. What does it mean that we have to believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us out of Egypt? So He says over here, Upirusho, and the meaning is, listen carefully, Tedeu, you should know again. You should first know. V'ta'aminu, and then you should believe, Sheyesh la'olam Elohai HaMashgiach. Then you should believe, Rabotai, that there is a God that supervises the whole world. But the first words that the Biur Halacha uses is not you should believe. He uses you should know, and then you should believe. Now, Rabotai, we can come to try to say, how does one put this in practice? So that's why, Rabotai, when we look into Siman Menvav and Halacha Gimel, the Shulchan Aruch says, Chayav Adam levarech bechol yom mea berachot lefachot. A person has to bless 100 blessings every single day, at the very least. One second. Why is it so important to bless 100 blessings a day, every single day? That's the minimum. Why? Rabotai, we go back to the same concept. You want to become aware of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you have to speak about it. The more you bless Him, the more it becomes reality that He is the one that's giving you everything. The more you are aware of Hashem, the less we are going to be able to stray away from His Torah. Rabotai, if we look into the word again, Rabotai, these are not my chidushim, this is the rabbi said, I just don't remember his name. He says, what's 100 barachot every day? What am I saying? What do I want? Here we go. He says, when you take the word Baruch, you could play on the words, if you take the root word of Baruch, you could say Berecha. Berecha is a pool. But at the same time, you could say it's a wellspring. Meaning, whenever we're saying Baruch, we are saying Hashem, you are the source of all blessing. Like living waters, Rabotai. Like water gives us life, so to Hashem, you are the source of all blessing. You are the source of all life. So when you're saying Baruch, you come to realize that it's you. There's nobody else. And that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. Hashem wants us to have that awareness. So now, Rabotai, you can understand when we said in the beginning, what emunah is in the mind, to feel is in practice. Because what you believe over here should be the same when you're saying it over here. Because they have to go hand in hand. If you go a little bit further, if you take the word Baruch also, you know it can also mean Berech. It can also mean Niz, which means what? Everyone's knees are bent to you for their needs. So again, Rabotai, the whole world, they bend their knees for their needs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we have to realize that everything is Hashem, Rabotai. To bring this a little bit more out, to show you, Rabotai, what does it mean when a person comes to that awareness that it's only Hashem and nobody else. You have to understand, Rabotai, it's a very big concept, but it's a goal one has to try to strive for. To try to look in his mind that everything and anything, that any help, anything that it comes to him is only from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because when you are able to do that, you have all the berachot, you have all the blessings, you have all the salvation. There's a story of the Rebbetzner Rebbe. He was a teacher of the Siach Yitzchak. He says like this, Rabotai. There was a couple at a very young age that they were not going to be able to have children. They went to this doctor, they went to that doctor, they went to this doctor, they went to this rabbi for a blessing. They did everything, Rabotai. 10 years they couldn't have children. They came across the Rebbetzner Rebbe. The Rebbetzner Rebbe told them these words, Rabotai, and I quote, "At the moment you are going to be mi'aesh, at the moment you are going to give up hope of all other sources except Hashem, is the moment you will have the baby. That's the moment you will see the salvation." Rabotai, it's a very powerful line. We need to start giving up hope from other people and start relying only on Hashem. Then we'll see the Yeshuot. Then we'll see the salvation. But what do we do, Rabotai? It's just we depend on my boss, on my worker. It's her, it's him, it's my friend. They're helping you because they're good messengers from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But no, Rabotai, they're not actually the ones directly helping you. It's Hashem giving it to them to have that merit to be able to help you. So Rabotai, what ended up happening? So you know how it is. When we ask a rabbi something, we think we take it to heart. No, we go on our ways. We continue living life and that's it. 22 years later, when they saw nothing was helping, they completely forgot what the Rebbe said, what the Rebbetzner Rebbe said. They just said, let's just go to the Kotel. We have nothing to lose. Let's just down to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with all our heart and soul. And that's it. Who can help us? Nobody can help us. They already gave up hope. 22 years later, Rabotai. They came to the Kotel. They looked to Hashem. Rabotai, and they said these words. Hashem, we have no one but you to be able to give us a child. We went everywhere, we tried everything and anything, and we saw no salvation. Now we are turning to you because we saw that people are helpless and useless and they can't help us. Yeah, the rabbi gave the bracha, the doctors gave the medicine. The bottom line is nothing's happening. Rabotai, a few weeks later, she sees that she's not getting her cycle. And she goes, takes a pregnancy test. And she sees she's pregnant. As they were coming back from Israel, being on the plane, she turns to her husband and she says, do you know what the Rebbetzner Rebbe told us when we were younger, when we went to him? The day that you give up hope on all other sources, except Hashem, that's the day you're going to see the salvation. And that day happened today, she said, meaning when they were by the Kotel. Rabotai, if a person wants to have Yeshuot, Brachot, success, it's giving up hope that it's other people that can help you. And start relying only on Hashem, being aware that He's the only one that can help you. Rabotai, when one is able to do that, he is able to have Yeshuot, salvation. And that's what the Gemara says, Rabotai. So I'll tell us. What is going to happen in the end of days? What's going to happen? Same thing, Rabotai. Not the army is going to help us. Not this is going to help us. We're going to have nowhere to turn to. It's going to be 70 wolves against one poor sheep, which is Israel. 70 nations. We're going to have nowhere where to turn, and all we're going to do is one thing, Rabotai. We're going to scream out to Hashem. Then Hashem is going to make miracles bigger than when He made it from when we were in Egypt. But Rabotai, we don't have to wait till then. We could start doing it now. We could start practicing it now. We don't have to wait to get to there. That's what Rabotai. I want to conclude over here. I saw this. It was not coincidence, Rabotai. We don't believe in coincidence. It's the paper growth at the Shabbos. It's the first time I saw it actually. And this one was by Mishael Siyunov. And he brings down over here a quote from Rabbi Noah Weinberg, which can actually sum up everything that we spoke about today, which is very nice, Rabotai. What does Hashem want, Rabotai? What does Hashem want? What, do you think Hashem put you into this world to torture you? Do you think Hashem put you to suffer? No, Rabotai. Listen what he says. The fact that we exist means we are always on Hashem's mind. He is always thinking about us. Since we're existing, that means He is always thinking about us. All He asks in return is that He should be on our minds and that we should think about Him. This is the quote of Rabbi Noah Weinberg, Rabotai Zatzal. Rabotai, all Hashem wants is that we should constantly be thinking about Him. Rabotai, to always be aware that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching us and overseeing everything and anything we do. And if we truly want the real success in life, that success only comes when you're doing